Just a second. Hello, my name is Lauri Kivil, and I come from Estonia. I represent Estonian wooden houses manufacturers, producers, and because we are one of IHMEC project partners, and this is totally, I believe this is quite extraordinary project for us also. If we compare markets, these are not traditional markets for us. And if we compare product or collaboration with indoor hygiene technology and products, then this is also quite new thing for us. I represent Estonian Wood House cluster. I work there officially as a project manager. So basically this is kind of same kind of project as this IHMEC project. And we are the leading partner there. And our cluster members are mainly wood house producers and research and development institutions. And all kind of suppliers also. Material suppliers, equipment suppliers, labor force suppliers. So just I promised that I am not going to speak longer than 30 minutes because we also have to catch the plane today, and I'm happy that we have had like these 3 days, quite really efficient days. I believe this project now has kind of form, and on the second half of the presentation I'll give the idea what is our propose or how we will see this IHMEC project, or what is our benefit or value what we can offer. But first of all I will show you the presentation of our sector, because maybe you don't know about Estonian wood house producers, because your wood house industry is also quite strong, but we are doing also quite good work last years. So just a brief introduction through like video material for you.
Estonia, a country with 1.4 million inhabitants on the eastern shores of the Baltic Sea, is primarily known as an e-country and a pioneer of the IT sector. A country where the whole of society actively uses IT. But our ancestors were called forestmen. Half of the Estonian mainland is covered with forests. Strong Nordic wood with narrow growth fronts, which has been used for building since time immemorial and has proven itself to be a good material for several thousand years. The Estonians' centuries-long tradition of building with wood has carried over to the present day. In 2014, UNESCO recognized the Estonian smoke sauna as a part of the Estonians' ancient lifestyle and cultural heritage. Today, building with wood is also sustainable and nature conserving, while people build purely for themselves in the past. Producing wooden houses has become an important export commodity today. Estonia is the largest exporter of wooden houses in Europe. Estonian houses are valued throughout Europe and beyond. Today, Estonians are building the highest wooden houses in the world, wooden skyscrapers in Norway. In order to be the best, you have to make an effort. Estonian wooden houses are produced with the help of high-tech solutions. By collaborating and working closely on development with scientists, we ensure that our houses meet the needs of the most demanding clients today, as well as tomorrow. We believe that the house of the future is a factory-built house. The advantage of factory-built houses, with 99% of the work done in the factory, is speed and controlled quality. A wooden house always has a good indoor climate and is totally allergen-free. You will live a healthy and full life in an Estonian factory-built house. You will find high-quality house producers amongst the members of the Estonian Woodhouse Association, the Estonian Woodhouses Cluster. We build success.
Presentation. Okay, so basically I could quit right now because many of my slides are quite similar to the video stuff, but I still go them through, and that on the other half of the presentation I have some ideas to the IHMEC project. So generally I represent also Estonian Woodhouse Association, who is the only roof for our country's manufacturers, and we represent almost 70% of the total sector turnover and the export turnover, and all numbers what you can measure. And there are two big companies who could join to our association, and then we would represent almost 80% of the total sector numbers. And its association is a leading partner for the cluster program, and cluster program is that same kind of project as IHMEC. We do quite similar things. We try to open market for our companies and different type of markets. And in sector we have 180 producers who are like the real producers. And the number is actually almost twice bigger, but as sector is growing, we make quite good communication, and there are quite many companies, like really young companies, who would like to enter to the market because of that. But these are like smaller ones, and we don't measure or we don't count them as like real producers. And production value is 350 million euros valued houses per year. Last year it was like that, and most of it is exported. And just an idea about these main products, what we do, everything started hundreds of years ago with handcrafted log homes, exactly the same thing in Finland. We're quite similar position historically also, and production types also, house types also. Nowadays, this machine log house sector is quite strong in Estonia. We have two European biggest garden house producers. So and this sector is actually quite full, quite difficult, and it needs quite big investments also to enter that market. And the main segment, or I mean the main amount of this sector is coming from timber frame element houses, different type of them, residential buildings, apartment buildings, public buildings, and then the last product is the modular house. And I believe that this concept is also like the IHMEC should be like the IHMEC concept if we're going to talk about the new buildings, not these renovational projects. So this is the four type of products, and we've seen last year that there are the CLT construction is coming into the sector, massive Holz mower system is coming into the sector, so it allows to make totally different type of complicated construction joints and some solutions, and the new solutions are coming into the sector also. But most of the sector turnover is coming from classical log or timber frame building industry, and quite also like the new segment is all kind of combinations between wood and steel or concrete. Like the picture on the left side, it's also probably in the future building technology. I believe that for difficult high-rise buildings, it's like your structural system is concrete or something else, and all these outside panels are made in factories and are timber frame insulated panels. And also this renovation project, these projects are coming more not popular, because we have in Estonia, I believe, half of the population lives apartment building that are older than, let me think, for 50 years. 50 years, and so if we take it as a life cycle for one building, then we have to think that should we tear them down or should we renovate them. So this is just one project what we did this year, or one of our member companies did together with one of our other partner, Tallinn Technical University. Like really took old Russian apartment building what was like some rally walls were like rallyways different, and they renovated, and then now it's like nearly zero building, and process was like that. It just adapted these wall elements to there. And this is also, I believe, one of the products in the future. And the left side, like new buildings, this is quite popular in Europe. And all our members are producing buildings in factory conditions. So it means that under the open sky, nobody produces houses anymore. Okay, some log homes somewhere in, I don't know, in forest, one guy company, so-called, maybe they are producing it, but all others are in the factories already. But generally, what is going on in European market, this is the wooden factory buildings sector. More than 8 billion is the capacity, or is the amount what European countries wood house manufacturers made last year. So actually the market is quite huge, and this is the table what shows that where we are positioning, who are the biggest producers, and like the top 10 wood house producers in Europe at the moment. So basically, Estonian is according to Eurostat, we are like the biggest exporters, but it's impossible to compete with economy as Germany or France or United Kingdom. They're just so much bigger that we never can produce like nearly 2 billion per year. But we are growing year by year, but this is just a huge economy. You can't compete with it. And it shows like the economical recession in 2008, and somehow Estonian companies recovered, and this export is growing fast for us. Okay, same thing as Shivas you had. Fantastic.
But you have at least names.
Yeah, I have names at least. Yeah. Okay, our main markets: Norway, Sweden, Germany, Netherlands, Finland, and like so-called exotic countries. We have quite a lot of them, but I just did check out during the day, and there was during last 7 years there were no sales to Saudi Arabia and one sale to Iran. So basically, these are like totally new markets for us also. But somebody was dealing with Iran already. I can check who was the company and then take a phone call tomorrow and then get them on the board. But this is actually quite obvious that the European market is huge, but entering to export it's difficult. I mean, it hasn't been easy for Estonian companies to do export to Norway or Sweden, because local companies are strong. Also like Finland or whatever you take, Germany, there's quite huge protection, and the entering is quite difficult. And now we have a target market, Iran and Saudi Arabia, and also like another Central Baltic project, China. that it's interesting project for us also to see, is it possible at all? And it shows our main markets, like this export dynamics in last years, and most of these markets are growing, and the biggest growth was like 3 years ago to Sweden, and then this market is growing quite fast at the moment also. I believe I can skip these general slides because we are quite, with Finland, we're in quite same position that we have like 80 kilometers away from us, and basically you have strong wood house production sector, and we are also growing our sector. Maybe this is just an idea that what we are talking all the time in the association or in the sector, that you have to have like a certain product and certain market. It's difficult to try to do everything everywhere. And for example, left side there is a Japan and animal hospital, according to local rules what you have to make. And another is like hospital in Norway. Both are timber or wood buildings, but totally different countries, totally different legislation, business culture, everything is different. So you just have to make, like, you know, you be forbearance, you have to know what you're doing and where you are doing these buildings. And maybe this is also interesting that I think we are quite a rare example in Estonia also. If you take some manufacturing sector, then it's quite difficult to find friendly cooperation or cooperation between competitors. We have succeeded somehow, and I'm quite glad but it's quite obvious because we do export, and we're not fighting for one tender into Norway really often. So you can still be as a partner. If we could produce only to Estonia, if the market would be bigger, then the competition and the collaboration between same type of companies would be also much more difficult. Maybe this IHMEC part now, Tiina asked me to give an examples what we have done in the cluster program. The headline was like boosting up Estonian wood house sector through cluster program or something like that. And I thought that I should give some success stories or maybe some case studies that you know, we should do in IHMEC project these things because it worked really well. And I've been working 5 years in cluster, and I know quite well what was before also, but when I started to think that I should write down these things, what are like the real success stories, like you take the book and read, let's do these things, and then we are successful as a cluster or sector. It's quite difficult. All this joint and the project what we have to do together with companies are quite a headache, and it's most simple to do these things what are also like in this project, that let's make the study visits, try to do market research, let's try to, you know, put these companies together. And actually I can say that this is the most important things. You have to just somehow put company leaders, managers together, because research thing, this comes from research development institutions, mainly, usually. But business is made between companies and people. So my just some ideas what we have done, and that I think what would be also maybe just to think about in this IHMEC project also. That first thing, like in our association or cluster, or what we are talking, the board and between our companies, it's really simple. Your product really has to be good, otherwise you can't sell it. Now we are not selling any more price. It might be like that 10 years ago, that if you wanted to enter the market, then our labor costs were, I don't know, 3 times lower than in Finland. Now we're, I don't know, quite almost soon quite comparable, and all this entering into market where price are going a little bit lower than Estonia all the time. So basically your product has to be really good. You can't sell the price anymore. And what we've done in last cluster program, what we are going to end in the end of August, we put together a certification project for companies. This is the one thing what we were discussing yesterday also, because going to Iran or Saudi Arabia, now we are making certification for European market for Estonian wood house producers. But do we need some kind of label or mark for these countries also? We have to think this thing first. And this is the development project, how your product can be good. You have to go through this certification process, and then you have stamp on it. You as a company have made your process to get better products to be better. And this is quite difficult project, and then we are doing it right now. Also, we've supported different type of tests and researchers, because we have 2 universities also in the cluster who help to do these things for us. And we also try to support them with legislation. We translate different type of building rules, regulation from target markets, and then help to share them to companies. And also we made like joint boards for designing program, because it's quite problematic if you want to share the job between companies, or to make a general tender where, like for example, I don't know, 2 or 3 companies who would like to have the job. Then you have to think similar, you have to use similar designing programs. So we've bought these things also, these programs. And all kind of competence building seminars, conferences, stuff like that. And I was thinking that this is also like really important, that we have started working with our local reputation. Because it's really hard to sell in the export that you're saying our product is good, and basically like I think you put it there also. Yeah, like 50 years in all the universities have taught only concrete, steel and steel. So basically building from wood was kind of, I don't know, it's not important, it was kind of, I don't know, it wasn't supported at all. So changing these principles it's quite difficult, and you have to work with all these decision makers and state representative also in local market and also in export, who I think we shared in an association like that there's a managing director and staff who is working, and the board is 7 companies representatives, and their only job is represent the sector, doing lobby, meeting decision makers to build up again this building wood competence at all, because it's now the main building sector, it's just all the time like concrete, steel, glass. But I think we've succeeded, because if now there's some minister goes to some event, then there's like 3 topics what they take with them. It's wood, food and IT. So basically the wood is there, and the wood buildings are also in this communication plans usually. And all the time we have to work with the public. We've been writing a lot, we've been in television, radio, you have to all the time tell stories about wood houses. Otherwise it's difficult. It's not traditional, like 50 years cut some things away. Because I have a statistic like in 1930s, like 1920s, 92% of houses were wood houses. Now, at the beginning of 1990s, it was like less than 24%. So basically, it collapsed like building wood competence in Estonia. And also like to honk the horn. You have, if something goes good, then it's probably obvious that we should talk about it. And also in the cluster program, we've done this thing that our product, because we export it, 90% of it goes to export. Then usually, if I'm going to talk with companies that, hey guys, I need good references. Show me what you've done. Otherwise, I don't know, I have to go to television or whatever. Please bring pictures, bring some videos. There's nothing. They just made the house, erected the house, and came back to Estonia. So it's somewhere there. Grass isn't growing yet at all. So we made this like photo tours to export markets. We just have hired like professional photographer, put into the car and send it a few weeks to Norway. Please take all these pictures after a few years when the building was made. Now it's already beautiful, all trees and grass is growing. Make reference pictures, because you can't sell your product if you send it away. You don't have like house example in your factory all the time if client is coming. I believe this is really important, that you have to have something to show if you have a product what you are doing for export, and that these projects are unique. Every wood house what our companies are making are mainly tailor-made solutions. And of course, if you have this information, then share it. And I believe that in cluster program we have succeeded to tell the companies that you have to show that you have a good references, and the material has to be good. You can't show, I don't know, your mobile phone and then there's a picture that my worker made on the site when he left, and then this is my reference. This kind of things actually what are possible to do together. And also that what we are talking all the time with companies, that we have to be like a colleagues, and we are not competitors, because we are so small. Estonia is small. If we take like IHMEC project, then even like the Central Baltic region is small. We were comparing that roughly when Scandinavia and Baltic states are approximately 30 plus million inhabitants, and Iran market is 80 million. So Estonia is so small. Central Baltic is compared with our two chosen markets still really small. So it's reasonable to try to do things together. And what we are all the time talking to companies, that your product really has to be good. That you can't make crap, or if you are doing it, if something happens, you made a mistake, whatever it was, I don't know, bad cooperation with local builders, for example, in Norway, you have to fix it. Admit it and fix it. That's the solution. All make mistakes, but if you ruin it once, then your company is screwed, and all sector reputation goes really fast down. And I believe we've succeeded with also that we try to do like the really quality product. So we try to share the same values in cluster and in this association. And also, maybe it's not going together with IHMEC, but now our companies are sharing job also, but it's coming only because of these small things. And actually the IHMEC project is kind of the same thing, that it's impossible to do something really important or difficult projects, joint projects, if there is no trust between company owners. This is the main thing, and I believe that if somebody asked that what is the most important thing what cluster has done, that's it. Company owners have to be like on the same position. They have to be friends. In Estonia, I think we've succeeded it. And through all kind of these simple things, study visits, competitions, whatever, you name it. Like last week it was like Nordbygg fair in Stockholm. And like first time in the period, there was Estonian wooden houses stand together with only Estonian wood house producers, and all was the same design, only like few different names, and all are like really well, really good companies, not just some small companies who couldn't afford your own stand, but they went together. We organized it, put it together. Of course, there was an Enterprise Estonia stand also for, I don't know, 7 or 8 companies. But we decided that we have to be like as one sector. And it's only possible because of these things that the company owners are doing collaboration, co-work, they know each other. And I believe without this kind of project as IHMEC, it's impossible to achieve it. And I hope in this project and Estonian companies are involved, that Finnish companies and our companies will get that kind of collaboration also, because business business is made between people, I believe it. And in IHMEC project, I believe that this concept should be a modular-based concept. We shouldn't try to renovate some old thing, but let's make an innovational product together. We have this modular house producers, really good quality producers. Let's put your materials, equipment into these buildings. Let's ship it to there, and whatever, we can bring it back, we can sell it there, we can rent it from companies. All kind of solutions are possible. And for I'd like to show a video at the end, just like few minutes, like the last factory what was opened in Estonia, and this will be the last thing what we can talk about. And I believe that this could be the IHMEC concept also. Modular wooden houses and your solutions in there.
Time is becoming an ever more valuable resource in planning and building new regions. Harvard's value tools are providing new opportunities to plan and build faster and more efficiently than ever before. Harvard offers our clients complete solutions, from design to the assembly of our buildings. Our rapidly evolving company began producing prefabricated modular buildings in 1997. Our product range includes various modular houses, building elements, modular on-site facilities, and portable toilet facilities. With a team of over 600 personnel, Harmat operates in 4 factories with total production area of 45,000 square meters. The total annual building capacity is approximately 200,000 square meters. We provide prefabricated modules. Around 90% of the entire building structure and the interior is manufactured in our factory, which offers the most optimal and safest conditions of construction. Harvard's primary market is Scandinavia, and more than 95% of our production is sold to Scandinavian countries. Close to 70% of our production is delivered to the Swedish market, with our primary customers being Carmo and Brooklyn, IKEA's and Scout's joint venture. Harvard employs more than 25 engineers. We use VIM technology, available software, HSQ CAD, Tekla VIM Site, ArchiCAD, MagiCAD, and AutoCAD architecture. We carry out building elements, technical drawings, water sewage, heating and ventilation system design, also electrical system design models, and project management of the design. Our products come with all doors and windows pre-installed, with all the interior finishing and most of the exterior finishing already completed, with complete power, water and sewage systems, with all sanitary and bathroom appliances already fitted, with a pre-installed ventilation system, with pre-installed kitchen cabinets and appliances. We can also install all furnishings and all modules undergo quality control before leaving the factory. For optimal transport solutions, we produce modules with a standard size of width of 4.1 meters, length of 12 meters, and height of 3.5 meters. Our products feature high-quality construction materials which ensure a long service life and reduce future maintenance costs. Harnet's products come with up to a 5-year warranty. In March 2010, Harnet acquired a Pan-European Quality Certificate, ETA 10/0030, allowing the design and assembly of wooden houses all over Europe. Harnet is also environmentally active by planting numerous new trees every year, helping to renew and regenerate forest and woodland areas. In 2017, Harnet opened a brand new factory at Cumbernauld, Estonian. With 22,000 square meters of production, it will provide an output of 350 modules per month. Modern technology lowers production costs and raises volume, which is a great step towards satisfying our most demanding customers. With Harnet's wide product range, from portable on-site facilities to modular building elements and modular houses, Harnet offers you the opportunity to plan and construct your wildest dreams. In no time.
So that's it, and I hope that we can do good business together.